Go live, go live, go live. We got the DJ Horns in here. What's going on, everybody? Shout out to the room. Happy Wednesday, or Hump Day
I hate
Wednesday.
to say it, but you might be right about that last comment that you were just making offline. We're not even going to get into that because I don't want to get docked any money because we were talking about that behind the scenes. So we're not going to say whose name on this episode, seeing how we don't have a reason to. But you
Everybody
might be right
needs
about that
him.
because I was like, what the fuck part of the? I was like, what?
He shuts
What part of
everything down, bro. Oh,
part of the
early.
game is that?
CJ the Kid with the super chat early, a $20 super chat. He says, I want to give a special shout out to A2HH for paying respect to plug too, unlike certain radio stations or hip hop platforms, and even YouTube hip hop based channels who claim the culture but haven't said one word about him. Shame. Well, I didn't know that's where we were going, but
Well, you said we
yes,
were just going to jump in and get to it, so let's go ahead and
I
jump in and get to it. Nobody's really been talking about the fact that Trugoy passed,
They
and
do
it's
this to
because
De La Soul, period. Like, I've always said, De La Soul is the most underappreciated hip hop group of all time. And I always thought that Prince Paul is the most underrated hip hop producer of all time. I don't know if this is the streaming thing. Luckily, their catalog is going to be available for streaming March 3rd. And I hate that Trugoy didn't make it, to see that. But hopefully, the good that'll come out of this is the fact that people will really dig into their catalog as they should. But it is disappointing that other platforms aren't speaking more about this. Go ahead, Coop. I'm sorry.
no, you're fine. I think the fact that their catalog has not been available is quite frankly been a travesty. It has left literally a full generation of hip hop listeners devoid who don't even know, quite frankly, who De La Soul really is
Right.
or what they really mean to the hip hop community. For those of us who are privy to them, they've left us without one of rap's truly great and consistent catalogs.
Yeah.
Musically, lyrically, conceptually, I think most people within hip hop circles attribute the skit
Yeah.
to De La Soul.
Yeah.
Skits have become super big part of a lot of classic albums.
And I think the remix, in the sense of where we know remixes to be, like
What, buddy?
yeah, adding different people onto records. Like, I think the remix before them may have been, maybe a DJ throwing a separate track over an existing track. But
Right. Well, I mean,
I guess adding great elements to make a song better in the remix standpoint, I feel like comes from De La. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the chat.
yeah, I can't think of anybody. So they're responsible for the remix and the skit.
Yeah.
Um,
And
like you said, Prince
honestly,
Paul.
maybe the concept albums too, like album to album. Maybe Beastie Boys can really
Maybe
get some
album to
credit there.
album, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. That's a little more gray.
yeah, yeah. But I know that they were one of the acts early on. Like Fife said, and rest in peace to him, props to De La due to creativity. They were the ones that were held as the creatives in that hip hop space. The way they were able to not only just change from album to album, but the elements that they were adding into their albums. I feel like, and I've said this on this show before, obviously the makeup of Tribe, is closely correlated to the makeup of Outkast. But if you think about the approach to making albums and themed albums, Outkast is highly influenced by De La Soul.
Yeah, because you want to know what Tribe's theme never really changed.
No.
And when it did change, it's like, well, it was because they had gotten older. And I think that, a lot of people don't understand this. It's like, well, what happened with Beats, Rhymes, and Life is that, like, they kind of grew up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, so it wasn't as, like, fun and carefree and easygoing and all that it was before. It's like, well, now you're dealing with grown men approaching 30 dealing with grown issues. And quite frankly, It's like, and it's one of those things people have to understand. The record business, how the record business works, they're looking at where they are financially on album number 4, and they're like, ugh.
Well, the samples really hurt a group like them and Tribe as well. But the sample clearances that, De La had to deal with were, I don't want to say PE level, but as far as like the way that the songs were composed from a sampling standpoint, it was very chaotic in a PE level, but they were dealing with genres that PE wasn't dealing with. Like a lot of the samples that PE were taking from were black music, whereas a lot of the collages of samples that De La was taking from was more white music, and and they were coming across a lot of different hurdles of getting things cleared and cleared properly. And obviously, you got the notorious turtle sample that wasn't cleared that got them that put them in a big hole that they're still getting out of.
So,
But that's one of the streaming issues too.
well, I mean, like you said, it's really, really sad. It's untimely. It truly is. This is a truly untimely passing.
Yeah.
Because this was about to be a reacquainted period.
Yeah.
And it would have actually been a nice injection into what is becoming a problematically slow year. This would have been a nice little, and think about it, it would be a nice injection during hip hop's 50th year. Think about it, with them being available on streaming platforms, that opens up more show and tour money for them. Like, this is really like an opportunity. So it's truly, truly sad. Like, on all levels.
It is, and the other advantage that they have in that scenario you're speaking of is the fact that they are hip hop's group that never broke up. They're one of the few groups ever in this genre that never broke up. So for them to come together for Hip Hop 50, and for the fact that their catalog is finally available on streaming platforms, it's nothing for them to do a live show, a concert, a tour, whatever, to actually, put a needle in the arm for those efforts. But yeah, I wanted to put some respect on that super chat there. I'm gonna get to some of the other super chats. CJ Kidd says, if possible, could you guys speak on where you were when you first heard De La, what you felt Trugoy brought to the group, and what impact De La left? I think we spoke a little bit of the impact. For me, obviously, me, myself, and I was their first crossover hit, but I think that them and Tribe were slightly before my time. I had to go back and really, appreciate their earlier works, but The Stakes is High was probably my introduction to them as a collective. And yeah, I mean, I knew that Pasta News was crazy. That Projects line was always the one that stood out for me.
I'm fortunate that, I lived with my older cousins who were 4 and 8 years older than me, respectively. And so a lot of that early hip hop that I would become more acquainted with when I got older and closer to their age when they were listening to it. But I got acquainted with them via me, myself, and I, because my oldest cousin, Vici, my older cousin Vici, who's 8 years older than me, he used to watch Yo MTV Raps a lot. And so actually the Me, Myself, and I video is actually one of the earliest videos that I remember relating to, because Trugoy is at the school desk, remember? And so actually one of my earliest hip-hop visual memories is Trugoy sitting at the desk and Me, Myself, and I.
I think, to speak to what Trugoy added to the collective, I think that it's that perfect balance. I think when you got duos, you have one that does one other thing extremely well and the other that does something else well. Like, I think that when Pasta News was coming with this rapid fire flow, you had somebody like Trugoy that could hit you with the way he would the way he rhythmically hit it. It was a great contrast. My favorite song from them personally is Ring Ring. I love that record. Ring Ring Ring.
I can see that. Yeah. Stylistically, I get exactly what you're saying, because you got like this complex rapid fire rhyme scheme going on, which actually doesn't get enough credit for how intricate Pasta News rhyme scheme is.
Yeah.
And then you have this guy that's more like rhythmically inclined. Like, I always thought Trugoy's flow was more bouncy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Stakes is High album, like, I remember seeing that on Rap City a lot. The It's So Easy, records like that, and that video. And even then, not
I mean,
being as familiar as I needed to be with their catalog at that point. Because when Stakes is High came out, I was like 14. And so even then, I could tell, like, yo, this group is super creative. You know what I'm saying?
the record Stakes is High is one of my favorite Daylight records, Mike. The actual
Yeah.
song Stakes is High.
It's one of
I
my
love
favorite
Stakes
Dilla
is High.
beats, period.
Huh?
It's one of my favorite Dilla beats, period.
I mean, I think it's one of the, from that time period, like Dilla, he had a sound around that period. And I think that might be the best beat from that kind of like 95, 96 period for me.
It's dominating,
That's
man.
saying a lot.
Yeah, and it really, it's kind of the epitome of Rap City and Yo MTV Raps in that era, that beat.
Right. Right.
I remember Q-Tip telling a story about how he got acquainted with Dilla, or at least Dilla's music. And I think the first person he said that he played it to was Trugoy. And he was like, yo, am I bugging? Or does this nigga sound, these beats crazy? And I think he said, Trugoy said, it sound like a better version of you, or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen that too. He's like, it's like it sounds like you, but better. And Q-Tip was looking like, yeah.
I don't know how to take that, yeah.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, but you're talking to Q-Tip too, so he probably then he listening to it, and he probably like, but
yeah, next level me. Andrew Green with the super chat says, dope Patreon guys. In my opinion, KD1 is Nas' best easy listening album. Just put it on and vibe, by the way. Are y'all still doing the Patreon on Magic versus written testimony based on the bar work? 9 songs each. We can do that, but I mean, what I got from the Patreon that we did the other day, what I got from the Patreon the other day, guys, and y'all not gonna like this. I wish Leroy Green was in the room when we were doing it. Somehow, this was the only Patreon that he missed from us, but.
No, remember his work schedule changed, so he said he was going to have to start missing them.
Okay, well, I need to go back and check and see if he made some comments in there. What I discovered from the Patreon, that we played KD1 versus 444 for the people that missed out. It's 444 is truly submit. I mean, it just is, man. And it's not about, we're not liking his direction. You don't want the elevated J and blah, blah, blah. The production's lackluster. It's one of the few, if not only, Jay-Z albums where we can say there's no real standout record on there. He has a standout moment on Marcy Me, the first verse. I think the best produced song on there is Family Feud.
Family Feud, yeah.
And I think that Bam is cool. But the rest of it,
okay.
It's just 444, the song is cool. We talking
about 3 records. We talking about 3 records, and we talking about, how about this? Where do those records rank in his catalog? That's what I'm saying.
They don't. And what I said on the Patreon.
Way down.
What I said on the Patreon is the fact that we're talking about Jay-Z here, right? And you get 10 songs. And if you were to tell me that Jay-Z gets a 10-song album that's fully produced by one producer, I'm like, yeah, classic all the way. Because usually, if you look at most of Jay-Z's catalog, and you break it down to 9 or 10 songs, these turn into classic efforts. And the fact that he had a 10-song album, totally produced by one producer, No ID, who they were locked in with, or he was locked in with, and it's like 3 dope joints. It's like, come on. I don't know, bro. Like, I might be tempted to put this at the very bottom of his catalog. And I know the Jay-Z fans will be mad at me for saying that. But
see, you think Magna Carta's worse, but I don't agree.
You might be right. Because at least Magna Carta has some moments.
Right. Think about it. It has Fuck With Me, You Know I Got It is on there.
It does.
Yeah.
Even though I don't like Picasso, I don't know, man. That's a tough one, man. I don't know which one. But you're right.
Just off that record, in the Frank Ocean record.
I actually like the record with Nas.
I'm okay with it. The beat's a little too happy, but I'm cool with it.
Yeah. What you know about going out here when he took the whole Mace line, Mace niggas in Madison Square Garden, 50 million sold and we still catching charges. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, I'm from Jersey and I haven't heard Hot 97 or 105.1 say anything just talking about Rihanna Super Bowl stuff. That's unfortunate, man. That is unfortunate. Andrew Green with the super chat says Queen's Finest and Live from the Bridge are classics, but y'all might be sleeping on Nas's song from the Professional 3 called War. His verse was crazy. I don't even remember that record.
I remember that. Give me Live from the Bridge. Live from the Bridge still had more bounce, man. That's why I mean that Queen's Finest, that was like true like 95 mixtape Nas. It's like, no, that's cool. I wanted to ride to some shit.
Canary and brown skin queens out from public housing comes to one known as the Godson Child. Rappers is bowing. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, when Fife, Sean P, Prodigy, DMX, and even MF Doom passed, they showed love. Even Mac, XXX, and Nipsey, but not Trugoy. Disgusting. Like, why, really? Why is De La so kind of unspoken in, I guess, in New York hip hop and New York airwaves, per se? Why do you think that is? Because I don't think it's just the streaming thing, because it happened before then.
And I say this respectfully when I say this, and so I'm going to go back to me talking to Glove again, and it's like, well, he just really made me understand some things. You want to know what? Outside of me, myself, and I, they really haven't created a record that they really haven't created the records that the masses would notarize. You know what I mean?
A roller skate jam called Saturday comes to mind. Ring, ring, ring.
Ring, 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 maybe. Okay, but listen to what I'm saying.
Break of Dawn. Okay.
Definitely Break of Dawn. Break of Dawn over Ring, 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 actually, in terms of, like, notarized. Like, Mike, how about this? Here's a better way to frame it. Like, like there's being innovative to be creative, and then there's being innovative and creative, like to sell records. And part of the reason why we stand in awe of, respectfully, Michael Jackson and Prince so much, and even we talk about them so much on this hip hop podcast, is because they're masters at both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so for as innovative and creative and all that De La is, you know what I'm saying? And we know it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's there in the songs, it's there in the production, it's there in the albums, it's there in the concepts. There is an art to making a big record that people get noted. Like, you know, that there is an innovative genius to that. Like, and this is why I'm bringing up Mike and Prince. It's like, well, you know, it's like, well, Mike never topped Thriller sales-wise. Prince never topped Purple Rain sales-wise.
Well, nobody ever topped Thriller sales-wise.
Right.
They had tried to cheat with the Eagles, but no.
Let's go a step down. Mike never even topped Bad After Bad. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, you know, because it's like, no. There is an art and a genius to making, like, music that gets notarized by the public. And quite frankly, you know, Mike isn't an icon because he made, you know, like something that you and I may love, something like, what's your favorite song on Thriller again, Mike?
Yeah, Baby Be Mine. Or
okay, your favorite song on Thriller is Baby Be Mine.
Or like, I mean, personal favorite, but
now, how the hell
it's clearly not the best song.
Do you think that Baby Be Mine is what sold 40 million records, or do you think Billie Jean and Thriller and Beat It sold 40 mil? You know what I'm saying?
You know, to speak to Thriller and not to get too far off course,
but
when we talk about superstars in this era and people being the next whatever, I was listening to Thriller the other day. And this is how Thriller reads off. It reads off like a greatest hits, man. It starts off, wanna be starting something. Then it goes to Baby Be Mine, the least notarized record on there, right? Then it goes, The Girl Is Mine, Thriller, Beat It, Billie Jean, Human Nature, PYT, and then Lady in My Life. And I'm like, none of the superstars have an album, you know, outside of Prince or whatever, have an album that is like that.
No, I get it.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if Beyonce had an album that was like that, Thriller is what changed the trajectory. Michael was already a superstar, but that's what put him in untouchable status. And not just the record sales, but just how strong that album is. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I think Janet and Prince are the only people that are in possession of albums that have the type of hit quality that Thriller has, like song for song, quite frankly, like as far as like artists go. If you want to talk about like hit, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, no, play that shit on the radio and play that shit all the time on the radio.
I mean, like PYT couldn't even get released really, because everything else was so
Might be
strong.
the best record ever without a video, Mike.
It's one of them.
For real. It's up there.
It's
Cold
one
Blooded
of
by
them.
Rick James and PYT by Michael Jackson are
Yeah,
the two best records I ever heard that don't have a video.
and he never
Um,
performed it either. I've never seen him perform it.
Never needed to. That's what I'm
It's
saying. It's
crazy.
like that's how he didn't need to perform it. But
Yeah,
that's what I mean about there's different ways of being innovative and being genius. And I think sometimes too, for the time of hip hop that they came in,
yeah, I think that
it
too.
was cooler to be that innovative, creative genius than to make that big record. And it's like, no, making those big records matter because now that we can see in his passing, and obviously their catalog not being available has something to do with this too. But
Right.
we can see the fact that they didn't make those big records. We can see how it's affecting how he's being eulogized or lack thereof.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that to piggyback on that, I think that they're having a Goody Mob Outcast issue too. Or obviously they came before, but that's what I correlated to is the fact that Tribe is Outcast in this relationship, and they're Goody, and it's like
Right.
as brilliant of work that Soul Food is, it's like you constantly get overshadowed by the person that you're constantly affiliated with because of their hit making ability. Like Tribe's hit making ability was, through the roof. You know what I mean? But I think that album for album, it's hard to say that Tribe's album making was better than De La's. And that's crazy to say because Tribe is one of the best album making, artists ever, groups that we've ever seen. And but the singles when it comes to De La don't, they don't move.
I mean, think
They don't
about it.
move it like Bonita. They don't move it like Can I Kick It? Or even Check the Rhyme
No,
Award
that's what I'm
Tour.
saying. So
Yeah,
like
and
Tribe got
so
like 10, 11 songs like that. De
yeah,
La has like 3 or 4.
yeah. But De La got the albums though. But
But
yeah,
De
I
La got
think
the album.
I
But this
think
is what
that's
I'm
why
saying.
Tribe
Like,
was able to kind of overshadow them in the minds of some of the
no,
media to
but this is
be
but this is
ignored.
but this is what I'm saying. Both of them, because here's the thing. Well, how do you like? And this is what I'm saying is it's like, well, you got people that are pulling off both. It's like, well, no, the Chronic got D's Nuts and Little Ghetto Boy right next to it. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? It's like, no, you got to, it has something to do with it. And so on a day like this is where them not having their catalog available is truly a travesty because, Mike, their albums are where it's at, not in the hit records. So, of course, not going to be notarized or glorified like Tribe. They don't have it. Like, their biggest single is Me, Myself, and I. Like, Mike, where would that rank on Tribe's, like, greatest hits? Because it's like, it's after Award Tour, Electric Relaxation, Bonita, Check the Rhyme, Scenario, maybe. You feel what I'm saying? It would be like 6th or 7th on Tribe's list, Mike. Am I wrong?
no, you're not wrong, but I do think that they're one of those groups that really focused on the album. You know what I mean?
No,
Like
and
they're
that's
kind of like
cool,
a band in a sense.
but that's cool, and there's nothing wrong with focusing on the album. But it's like this is what I'm saying. Like Prince did Purple Rain, but he also has Sign of the Times. It's like, oh no,
Yeah,
you got that big selling masterpiece with all the hits, and then you have like I think Sign of the Times is better than Purple Rain.
yeah,
Like,
I could
but
see that. Even
but
it's hard to
it did
argue
not.
that.
But it didn't do anything close to Purple Rain numbers.
No,
Now did it?
yeah, because look, music
But
sells
musically
on
speaking, it's flawless. It's
music
genius.
sells on the singles and not the albums, and that's just the reality.
That's the reality matter. Ain't
It's
no When
always
Doves
been
Crown
like
Sign
that.
of the Times. You feel me? Ain't
Yeah.
no When Doves Crown Sign of the Times. Ain't no damn Purple Rain on Sign of the Times.
Let me
Well,
get to the
Doors on
super
Sign of the
chat
Times.
real quick. I think we're getting back.
I gotta run upstairs. So hit the super chat.
Okay, cool.
I gotta check on my dog.
All right, 007 with the super chat says, side note, Riri, the new queen, Super Bowl performance wasn't legendary, but the move was being that she was pregnant and doing that on that magnitude of a stage. Her music is better than Beyonce. Anyway, oh yeah, disappointed in you, Scarface. We're gonna get to that. And I want to kind of reply to some of the things you said there too, 007. CJ Kid with the super chat says, I De La Soul the group version of Nas. Is De La Soul the group version of Nas with the media slander? No, I don't think it's slander. It's more so ignoring and underappreciation. I think Nas is just straight up slander. CJ Kid also says, what is De La Soul's best album and where does that said album sit in your top 100 hip hop albums of all time list that Coop made? De La Soul is Dead is the number one for me. I think De La Soul is Dead is a top 30 to 35 hip hop album in my opinion, without thinking too much.
I think, oh, a lot of it is error. So, we grew up on Stakes is High.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to just go back revisionist wise, I think 3 Feet High and Rising is still their best piece of work, though. Like,
Really?
that's for me. But here's what I'm saying. Like, 3 Feet High and Rising, Balloon Mind State, De La Soul's Dead, Stakes is High. You literally have 4 albums to choose from. That's how consistently great they are.
Yeah, they have 4 albums that anybody could say is the best.
But
Like, cause
but
I would go De La Soul is Dead, Balloon Mind State, 3 Feet High and Rising, then Stakes is High. And for Stakes is High to be at 4, that's crazy.
see, I would have Balloon Mind State fourth, and Stakes is High as third. De La Soul is Dead would be second, and 3 Feet High and Rising would be first.
I think Balloon Mind State is brilliant. You know, they worked
You
with the
do, you do. I think
JVs.
it might be a little too quirky for my taste, Mike. To be honest with you,
Marquez
I
Davis
don't
in the
love it.
super chat says, side note, fellas, what would it take for Patrick Mahomes to be considered the greatest of all times? Sports media is saying for a championship. Well, what's going to take, Marquez, is going to take time.
No, you want to know what it really
That's what
takes?
it's going to take.
Like no, like real talk. And I said this on Twitter.
And
No,
it's gonna, not to interrupt you, and it's gonna take him to stop asking the refs to bail him out in game-winning situations too, because that's a problem for me. For you to
they
sit
just
there and
hand-
point at the refs, that's a problem for me.
They just handed them a Super Bowl. Like they didn't hand them a playoff game or a
Yeah.
regular season game. They handed them a Super Bowl. That Super Bowl was tied.
You overthrew the man, and
By
you're
like
sitting here
almost
pointing
10
to the ref.
yards.
Come on, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not some greatest of all time shit. I'm sorry.
No. Like, forget all that. This is what I'm talking about. When that happened to Kaepernick, like that on Crabtree, no, that was some pass interference. That was like, it's like, okay, that's blatant. He's like holding him right here, holding him right there, and he got his like on. It's like, that's pass interference. And they didn't call that. And you want to know what people said the next day? They said, well, in that situation,
You let him play.
you let him play.
Exactly.
Now, when Colin Kaepernick is the quarterback, it's different than
It's
when
interesting,
Patrick
right?
Mahomes is the quarterback. It's kind of funny with the people who they want to win, Mike. Like, not like on the field necessarily, but in life and in media and in marketing and representing the product. Like Colin Kaepernick, the Super Bowl winner, is not as affable as Patrick Mahomes, the Super Bowl winner. So it's kind of funny when similar circumstances, game on the line, championship on the line, wide receiver gets interfered with slightly, and I still think that interference call was within 5 yards, actually, which means it wasn't interference like me. You know what I mean? Me personally, it's like I don't think that's interference. Like that's not.
Yeah, I didn't either, but if you want to look from a technical aspect, whatever. But the bigger thing here, let's just say all of those things are legit. And there was a tuck rule and all that with Tom
That's
Brady.
some bullshit too.
That happened. You know what I'm
Some
saying?
bullshit too, and I love Tom Brady.
But what we're
bullshit too.
gonna
Charles
have
Woodson
to
sacked him as a fumble.
right. But what we're gonna have to face is the reality of the fact that Tom Brady has put the measuring stick extremely high, and I think that we broke it down last show where he's had a great career in his 20s. He's had a Hall of Fame career in his 20s, 30s, and 40s. So before we start comparing, this guy to somebody like that, let him get out of his 20s first, at least. Jesus.
And not only that too, and let's also remember this. They did play in the Super Bowl against each other, Mike.
Yeah, and he was in his 40s.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, the guy in his 40s won his 7th ring on Mahomes. Now, I've always told you this, Mike. When you used to say that Jay was better than Nas, I was like, well, Mike, who won the battle? Like when they went head to head. It's like, how can you put somebody ahead of somebody if it's comparable and you went head to head and the other guy beat you? Like, where in life is the other person in first place? So he needs to do way more than win 4 rings to get in first place, because the Super Bowl L he has on his head is a Tom Brady L.
And it's a Tom Brady L that was in Tom Brady's 40s.
with Tom Brady's first year with a team.
Yeah.
After Tom Brady had already beat him a couple
Right.
years before.
And it wasn't even
to go
Tom
to
Brady.
the Super Bowl.
Right.
It's
And
like, what are you doing?
It wasn't even Tom Brady in a comfortable New England system with Bill Belichick.
No.
This is a whole new situation.
The whole new team. So it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's like you need to do more than
It's
win 4 rings.
you're a long way off.